So thank you, everybody, for joining us today on this webinar about hyper-personalization and really focusing in on using image personalization in your outreach to really significantly increase engagement, getting more of your prospects and your customers engaged and taking your call to action. In terms of what we're going to cover today, we're going to be looking at, first of all, why use personalized images, what are the benefits, what are the reasons behind that? And then I'm sure once you're satisfied there, you'll want to know how to use them. And so we're going to go through some examples of best use cases for image personalization. And then we're going to really jump into the meat of it, showing you how you can create your own personalized images really simply to cover the various different use cases and call to actions you might have. And then we're going to delve into the sort of channels where we can use those personalized images, for example, in your email outreach, in LinkedIn outreach, and even on your website for your landing pages, on your existing websites, how we can create this hyper-personalization where we've got multiple steps of personalization happening, creating multiple moments of delight and really pushing those engagement metrics up significantly. So in terms of myself also, just to say hi, I'm Ian Naylor. I'm one of the co-founders of Hyperize. We're in our third year now, so still a relatively new business, but I've been using personalization strategies, image personalization strategies specifically in my businesses going back all the way to my first one in 1999. So I have a long-held passion and a lot of proof from lots of campaigns and businesses and startups where we've utilized these sort of kind of strategies that are going to be made possible from what we're going to cover today. So let's jump in, first of all, and look at why use personalized images in outreach. What are the real benefits there? So the fact that we're on this call, we're talking about user engagement, and it's a key thing. It's getting harder and harder. And these are some of these stats we can see here are kind of exactly why it's becoming harder. The average person is bombarded by messages now. And so the amount of time that we have to consume those is just kind of falling off a cliff. And so the amount of time we have to engage somebody is kind of, seconds, 8 seconds, according to this survey here. So it really is, something that we have to work hard at to kind of stand out and be different, from all the other messages that are kind of, they're being seen on a daily basis. And that's really where images come in. The human brain processes images significantly quicker than text. And of course, that's no surprise. If we look at most marketing channels, it's inherently visual, magazines, billboards, all that sort of thing, very kind of, bright and intended to kind of pull you in with bold statements and wordings. And, that's because the brain processes that much more simply and effectively. And so it's a great way to communicate. But yet most communication, like business and sales communications, are very much walls of text on email or on LinkedIn. And so trying to break up that wall of text, having some element in there that's visual, that it could and reinforces your call to action, that in itself is going to really help in terms of the recipient understanding, what's being said to them. But when we include personalization in those images, because images process so quickly, we kind of ramp it up to a whole new level, and where we trigger this, what's referred to as a pattern interrupt. And that pattern interrupt is basically a psychological behavior that just puts a brake on the brain, and the brain's shouting out, stop, pay more attention to this. This is something different. This is, in this case, you've got your name in it, or your company name, or your logo, or your website, or your profile image, something that's, instantly recognizable by the brain. And it's just, puts on, the kind of the brakes and the flashing lights, as it were. And that increased mind share just leads to more engagement, people taking a pause for thought and then understanding your call to action better. And of course, when being engaged, more likely taking your call to action. And that's really at its core what Hyperize is enabling, for you to create image templates with variable placeholders that dynamically personalize on the fly. So in the same way that in an email template, you would have hi, first name parameter, you can now have that same first name parameter in your image as well, and then put your image template right there in your email template, and then just rinse and repeat, personalization on the fly dynamically. And of course, the great thing about using online sales and marketing strategies that they're all inherently digital. And so we can use these personalized image templates across the channel, whether that's in email, cold outreach, in LinkedIn, on website personalizations, chatbots, and even on offline world, using postcards and being able to create personalized postcards and really engaging people in that sort of way. So lots of different use cases. But like I say, today we're really going to focus in on a couple of those around email and LinkedIn. But feel free, of course, to ask any questions about any of the channels if that's something of interest when we get towards the end at the Q&A. So, and it's really when we combine these factors of being able to integrate and use all these different channels to create hyper-personalization, and with these highly effective images, it leads to significant uplift across the funnel. And these uplifts that you get at each step are compounding. So if you go from 5 to 10% conversion at step 1, then you're going to have twice as many people in step 2 to convert, and so any uplift there is going to be twice as effective. And so that's really what we're looking at with hyper-personalization. So let's look at some examples of the types of images that clients have used, that have been successful, that we use, and that, that are going to give you a great boost to the sort of campaigns that you're doing. So first and foremost, I guess there's really two kind of camps of Hyperize users, and broadly they're the sales team and the marketing team. And these sort of images that we're looking at here are really kind of in the sales camp. What they are really are, people representing themselves when their call to action is themselves, i.e. is in they're either providing some sort of sales or consultancy or service, and they want to have a one-to-one call to introduce that concept, and kind of close them down to SDRs, BDRs, ABM, that sort of kind of role. And so humanizing it. So not only are we personalizing it with the person's name in here, like, with the name Ian on the board, or kind of on the screen here, with Tim, for example, but also humanizing it and personalizing it from a human to human perspective. And that obviously also helps as well in terms of, how we relate as humans to other humans. We can start to create some other psychological kind of benefits there, but kind of creating these kind of humanized images, really help kind of drive a strong connection. And so being able to kind of do that, on the fly, as it were, can have a significant impact. And this is kind of, it's like I said before, these kind of psychological traits, like having a GIF where you're smiling and waving, that kind of going to trigger the law of reciprocity, where people feel compelled to respond, to kind of say something in return, or to take the call to action that's being portrayed. Like, for example, this one here from Rebecca. This was a cold outreach to Rebecca. As you can see here, I had a whiteboard next to me, which I'd used to kind of put some personalization on. And you can see Rebecca's response is, "Love this. When can we chat?" Now, of course, no one really loves cold outreach, but what's happened is her feelings have been elevated by the feel-good factor that's been delivered from this moment of delight, of this there's a nice personalized experience, and this human-to-human connection. Or you can use the image to help tell a story, or, for example, rather than saying, "Hey, let's have a sales call or a discovery call," framing it as, "Let's have a coffee and a chat." So we're psychologically kind of reducing the call to action, and so kind of removing the friction, increasing the amount of people taking that, and then visualizing that with you there with the coffee to help kind of move that story along and tell it in a way that they're going to understand what's being said when they see the image before they even read the text. And so they're almost hearing and seeing it for a second time when they read it there, and so much more likely to take that or get responses like this from this exact same image template. You can see Edgar's response here: "I never reply to these emails. This is the first one that worked." And it's quite funny that kind of response, almost verbatim, of "I never reply," I hear on a daily basis. And and it really is that's the testament, that's the testimonial of the product. You've seen it at work when it helps push past people's natural distaste maybe for cold outreach, and all of a sudden, in Edgar's case, is now a paying customer. And so, really helping make that difference in terms of your engagement in the outreach, and also the goodwill that it generates. So sometimes you're reaching out, you might not get somebody who's at the right level, right seniority, either too senior or not senior enough, not the person that's going to be the actual kind of end buyer, as it were. And typically if you land in the wrong person's inbox, you're just going to get deleted straight away, or even worse, get marked as spam. Whereas when we're creating these moments of delight, what you actually do is help leverage that and get more likely to kind of help get word of mouth referrals, where people refer you or forward you to the right person because you've created that moment of delight, as you can see here in this case from Jonathan. And so, being able to use these images in LinkedIn or in emails can really have a significant benefit, and create these kind of this wow moment, or this feeling, originality that people are not seeing elsewhere. And it's a great starting point to then build on that relationship. And this is a different example. As I said before, there are kind of two camps really of customers using it. And kind of what we saw there before was certainly more on the sales side, where we humanize it with the actual salesperson and that interaction. In this example, this sits more in the marketing camp. In this case, this is one of our clients, G2. For those that are not familiar with G2, although I'm sure the majority of you are, they're like kind of like TripAdvisor, but for software. So you can discover the best software platform, or the up and coming software platform by category, by vertical. And so what G2 do is they produce these quarterly reports to show who are the leaders and all that sort of thing. But in this case, what they've done is they've taken their actual product reports and recreated them in Hyper-personalization and added personalized placeholders. In this case, you can see these example images are personalized to Apple. So where we've seen the Apple logo and the Apple name, they're all dynamic elements that change for each prospect that receives the email with these images in it. And essentially, these images help tell this story, the aspirational story that G2 lead with, of saying, if you work with G2, you could become a category leader. So they're reaching out to businesses that maybe not listed or not necessarily featured particularly strongly on the platform, and suggesting that they could work together to increase their visibility. And so in doing so, and telling that story of, this is what the future could look like, significantly increasing engagement. In their case, replies went from 15 to 48%. So it tripled the amount of engagement they were getting from their campaigns. Like I said, at the top of it, I will be sharing this deck. But if you do have time, I won't play it now. But there's a video here from Jesse Rowe, the head of growth at G2, who talks about how using Hyper-personalization in their email campaigns has just revolutionized their kind of go-to-market strategy, and how they stretch their product all the way into their cold outreach campaigns. So interesting stuff. But a good example of how we can create, from a marketing perspective, personalized images that are kind of telling a story, like showing success in the case of G2. Also seen clients, like for example, agencies that are offering SEO or some sort of traffic sort of solutions, having like a kind of Google chart, Google Analytics, that's kind of branded up, showing, a big hockey stick sort of graph to help tell that story as well. So lots of ways that we can show that success. This is another client of ours, and this just goes to show you how simple image personalization can be to still have a significant impact. In this case, this is reply.io. Again, if you've not heard of them, they're a cold outreach platform, so predominantly email and LinkedIn. So they're a multi-channel platform. So what they're doing is they're using a diagrammatic image to tell a story of kind of the pleasure and pain of reaching out to people, tapping into their current pain of lots of different systems not really talking to each other, and then the solution to that, which is reply.io in the middle, and their logo, the prospect's logo in there, showing a nice, simple, streamlined funnel from their multi-channel solution. And what that led to, just one simple personalization in there, just the client's logo, led to almost a doubling of conversions in terms of also replies in terms of their metric being that kind of people replying to their campaign went from 11 to 21%. So a significant jump by having this one simple personalization and telling the story in a nice way in this diagrammatic example. The other interesting thing that Reply tracked and monitored and was an interesting outcome is that, of course, the kind of the focus was on the reply rate being increased. That was the kind of the core barometer. But what they also found was the open rate and the delivery into the inbox also increased over time as they were using more personalized images in the campaigns. And essentially what we were seeing there is that the additional engagement that the personalized images kind of generate in the email campaigns leads to kind of like a pseudo domain warm-up process, because more replies, less people marking you spam or deleting you, increases the domain reputation, which in turn leads to better open rates and email delivery overall. So a nice positive side effect from the increased engagement. This is another case study we did with Encharge, another kind of social outreach platform. And in this case, this wasn't a cold outreach. This was a kind of a follow-up to people that had signed up for a trial and hadn't gone ahead. So usually quite hard nuts to crack in terms of people in your cycle when they've fallen out the end and generally not responding. So in this case, it was a survey to ask what they were originally looking for. Kind of what their goal was. And essentially there was 3 simple choices, and clicking one of those options essentially just enrolled them into, that campaign, for further sequence. Now, what we did is we just did a simple A/B test, and one just with clickable links and the other one with personalized images, and just kind of visualizing the choice. So in case of more customers, obviously showing the growth of the plant and reducing CAC, showing that kind of monetary symbol, or the little boy they're rocketing, kind of some aspirational kind of ways to kind of express those choices, and that led to 14 times the amount of people clicking one of these 3 choices versus the links. Now that is a significant uplift. And one of the most, just to caveat this, one of the most successful campaigns I've seen in terms of uplift from A to B. 14x is an outlier, but certainly many of our customers see a 2 to 3x uplift. I think it's 2x uplift on average across the base from utilizing these sorts of campaigns. So significant gains to be had. Maybe not 14x, but if you do get that, would love to hear about that. And here's another great way of using personalization to create a moment of delight. You may have seen one of these, your own example of this in registering for this event. But these event gifts, as we kind of call them, have been responsible for significant uplift for our customers' events in terms of the number of people that register after seeing one of these shared event gifts. And we typically see about a 10% share rate from when these are sent out, which is pretty good compared to when we compare that to when asking somebody to share without the personalized images, it's virtually 0. So it is kind of almost an infinite uplift if you take it that way. And if in terms of where these personalized event gifts can be shared, we kind of, obviously you can see we give the choice of LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook, but we see the majority of the action happening shares in LinkedIn, which is really positive, because if you've got a business message and you're using LinkedIn for events, then getting the majority of the shares on the network where you're going to get the best engagement is obviously the key. So seeing such a significant amount of shares happening to LinkedIn is obviously very, very interesting. And so being able to visualize your event, when people register for your event, send them, these personalized gifts, it's creating that moment of delight. And then you can kind of leverage that and kind of, it's almost like paying it forward, then get that back and say, oh, we'd love it if you would share this, to tell to your audience that you're attending our event. And obviously that kind of a give and take relationship, after you've created that moment of delight, really helps. This is another example, again, more from a marketing perspective. Another one of our clients, Hubstaff. So in their case, they're a SaaS platform, and essentially it's a platform targeted to businesses that have lots of remote workers, and it's an app for the remote worker to be kind of tracking their time, and then a dashboard for the HR team or whoever's kind of managing the remote team from the head office. But kind of lots of kind of moving parts and things to talk about there to try and tell that story. So and their call to action is for people to sign up for a self-serve free trial. So again, that's a kind of lot to kind of cram in and ask in a cold outreach email. So what they did was take their product images from their website and personalize those. So you can see here, we've got an image that was taken from their website and just added personalization. In this case, you can see the person being personalized is Tim Cook from Apple. So we can see, for example, the Apple logo here in the toolbar. The first person listed in the dashboard, is Tim. And on the app side, again, we're putting through the Apple logo, and also even the maps personalized. There's over 12 elements that are dynamic in this image. And if we look at the data here, we see that what it did was had a significant impact. In terms of the A/B test we did, we actually tested a bunch of different images with them. And the one we're looking at, we just looked at there, was the winning image. And that actually had a 12.5% click-through rate versus the base of 3. And as I say, the average of all the different images we tested was 11. So, significant uplift. Even the losing image had like a 10% click through. So it's still 3 times better than the without the personalized image. But what Hubstaff did, or they didn't stop there. What they did is they also personalized their landing pages. So in this case, we can see an example here. Again, following through the theme of personalizing to Tim from Apple, we can see that the header is personalized with the business name, the call to action button also personalized with Tim's first name, and of course all the other headers and all the other product images, again, all personalized in this case to Tim. Now what we saw there is that they doubled the conversions on the page. So had twice as many people taking the call to action of starting the free trial when they landed on this page, when they were having a personalized experience. And what that means overall is, because, as I mentioned before, the hyper-personalization creates this compounding impact, that the 3 or so X uplift they got on the first step on the outreach meant that they were getting 3 times as many people on the landing page, and then they were converting those twice as many, so doubling the tripling that it had from step 1. So a 7x uplift overall, for everyone following the math there. But what that kind of means in real simple terms is that for every 300 emails they send out, they're now getting 7 signups, whereas before they were getting 1. And that at its purest is amazing for them, and is obviously an amazing result that can be achieved by simply creating a few changes to your existing funnel, adding in a personalized image, personalizing some elements on your landing pages, very, very simply. And it isn't just our customers that see this uplift. HubSpot did their own survey, and it was a significant one. Over 300,000 web pages were analyzed in the study, and it was over a 6-month time frame. And what they found is that there was a 202% better chance of someone taking the call to action on the page when personalization was used around that call to action. And so, very compelling in terms of the impact it was having there, and seen over such significant numbers. But that's hopefully giving you a flavor of the sorts of images you can create, potentially where you could use them, the sort of channels. And so what I thought might be fun now is to kind of actually jump into the platform and look at the editor and how we create those images, rather than just kind of going through the deck here. So let me just open up another tab and I'll jump into Hyperize. Again, if you've got any questions as we go through here, happy to take them. Or I can just keep on trucking, as we say. So what I'm going to do first of all is jump into the image editor, and I'll just create a blank image just to kind of show you the process. So what as you can see, in my account right now, I've got a bunch of images that I've created. When you first come into your Hyperize account, when you start your free trial, you won't see obviously any images here yet until you created your first image template. And so the first step will be to create new image. And then from there, the first thing we can do is choose a template. And we've got 143 templates and adding more all the time. And again, these can be filtered down by different tags and different purposes. So maybe if you wanted something about creating a meeting, you could look there. And obviously these images here, you can either use those as they are, or just use them as a starting point, or just use them purely for inspiration. But we can kind of find a sort of image you want, or we can decide to choose to create one without a template. So let's do that in this case. And so now what we can do is choose a background. So the kind of the base image that we're going to personalize and create our own kind of image template. So again, here we've got lots of different choices. We've got lots of stock images in the platform. And again, these are all discoverable by tags. So if I wanted to find something of an office shot, maybe something with a whiteboard I could put a message on, again, we could kind of find those. Or if I wanted a specific office and a GIF, we could find one. So maybe like this GIF here, we could use that and add some personalization here on this whiteboard. Or as you saw, or maybe you didn't, but you will now, we can also record a GIF. So if we wanted to create our own personalized GIF, we could use the record GIF option here, and that's going to use our webcam. And what we can do is kind of change the format. So we can either have a kind of just standard default, which is great, works both great in email and LinkedIn, or we can have square or more of a kind of portrait, or even kind of a widescreen. So I kind of generally tend to stick to the default. Also, what we can do is set the length. So obviously these GIFs are just going to animate and loop. And so generally, if you want to just do a motion like a cheers or a smile and a wave, or if you have a whiteboard, point at something, generally 2 seconds is enough to kind of get that sort of loop. And then we will basically just click record. It's going to give us a nice little countdown. And then we can just simply do what it is that we would like to do in our GIF. Once we're happy with that, we can click submit. If you're not quite happy with it, you can just click the retry recording, and then you're kind of back to here to record a new one. Once you've recorded that, it's going to be there in your image library, and then you can use that in any of your subsequent image templates as a starting point. So let's just stick now with this generic stock image that I've added. Now, the first thing to point out that this actually is a GIF, but when we're in design mode, it doesn't animate. So if we ever want to kind of see the progress of our image, we can just click preview here. What that's going to do is show us the image. And obviously at this point, we've not added any personalization to it. So it's just the basic image. We've got no options here to put personalization. So what we're going to do is just close this down, the preview, and let's look at the different personalization options we can add to the image. So first of all, let's going to put some text here on the whiteboard. So I'm going to drag in a text layer, and we can see we're going to have that, maybe just resize it here using these little ears. And what I'm going to do, first of all, is click the text settings option here. And what that's going to give me option to kind of change all of these colors and styles and fonts. Let's maybe change it to black so it's going to pop out a little bit more. And maybe what I'm going to do is choose a font that's going to kind of maybe look like it's more been like written on the board. So what we've got down here is permanent marker, which I think is quite a good one in this case. And I'm going to increase the size quite a bit, so we're going to see it nice and big. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. And I'm going to actually change this text now. So I'm just going to click into that and just delete all of that and just put hi. I'm going to put in the merge tag of first name. So now we've kind of got this little element here where it's going to be dynamic with their first name. Now, what I'm going to do is jump back to the settings here. And so obviously with an element like first name, you could have a short name like me with Ian, or you could have a longer name like, say, Jonathan or whatever. And so what we want to do is, rather than having just a fixed font number 25 here, we're going to choose this option of fit to box. So in this case, we're going to have a maximum font size. So this is the biggest it's going to be. Maybe we could actually have it even bigger than that. Maybe we could say, if you've got a really short name, we're going to show it really big. But as your name gets longer, the font's going to get, or the writing's going to get smaller. And so now we can have a preview of this. And now we can see in this case, we've got Hi Bob. Obviously, Bob's got a nice short name, so it's relatively bigger than it would be with someone with a longer name. So that's kind of the basis of adding text. These layers here, again, we can kind of rotate these, twist these. We can also skew them as well. So depending on the kind of the rotation angles of the images, we can get a pretty good feel for that, as well as being able to have outlines and shadows and those sort of things. And of course, also you saw when we're adding in text, we've got the option of all the merge tags there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate this one here and maybe just put in another message in here. Would be great to chat. You see there now it's kind of just resizing because we've still got the fit to box. And maybe what we're going to do is have something else here, maybe like their logo. So I'm going to actually we can put that on the wall there. So maybe it looks like it's a big badge on the wall. So let's grab the logo layer, drag it over here. I'm going to resize that a little bit. I'm going to make it round and maybe going to skew it a little bit. Oh, maybe not too that much. There we go. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to see also some data enrichment. And so we're going to see in here that Hi Bob would be great to chat. And we're also putting through Bob's logo. So let's just change this for my for just another email, just so we can see the difference in the Ian App Institute. And what we should see here is Ian and then putting through the App Institute logo. And so again, very quickly, dynamically personalizing on the fly. Very simple to add in these layers. Now, what we've seen there, obviously, we've seen text and we've seen dynamic layers, logos. We can also have dynamic website screenshots, dynamic maps. If on the side of LinkedIn, profile images, as well as a dynamic QR code. So lots of different options to kind of start creating these images. To reinforce your call to action. And once we've got those, we can then very simply add these to our existing outreach platforms. And to do that, we simply just choose this get image code option here and click that. And it's going to show us all of our integration options. If we've already added an integration to an image, we'll see this here already. In this case, we obviously haven't because it's a new image. So we can just click add new. And here we've got a list that's literally hundreds of platforms in here. So usually better to either filter by group, whether it's business software, CRMs or chat bots or e-commerce or email or whatever. Or if you know the name of it, which probably you do, just type in here and filter it. So maybe we wanted to put it in a HubSpot template, for example. We could choose HubSpot. And then what that's going to give us is the image code or the image example. You can see here, we now have the HubSpot parameters in the image dynamically, to where we're going to see the HubSpot data first name in there. So we can simply just copy that and then go over to HubSpot and add that directly into the template. So in this case, for every integration we have, we will have an integration guide that will show you exactly what is always a two-step process. Step one is what we've just done, which is copying the code from Hyperize. And in this case, in step two, you just go into your email template in HubSpot and then just paste it directly into the email body. So you'll just see here, we'll right click, choose paste, and then bam, the image that we just copied will be visually pasted directly into the template with all of the right parameters. And really that's as simple as it gets, so whatever platform you're using, whether it's HubSpot or Mailshake or MailChimp or Salesforce, Outreach, SalesLoft, you name it, we integrate with it. And so that's a very simple way that you can start to, create this increase in engagement. Spend 5 minutes creating a template, image template, put it in your email template, and then it really is set and forget. You're just going to drive that engagement without having to do any further effort. So that's kind of the first part really of how we create these images using these dynamic layers, and obviously the thousands of possibilities from the different elements, different platforms, websites that we can integrate with. But also, sometimes we don't want to do a campaign to thousands of people. Sometimes we just want to do some one-to-ones. individual outreach. And so being able to utilize this engagement tool in one-to-ones, what we've also done is created a Chrome extension. So I've got this Chrome extension installed here. So if I go to create a new email and just kind of create, let's just choose Tim here from Sticky Leads. And you can see I'm going to go into the email body here and just create my email. And what you should see down here at the bottom is this hyperize button in the email compose. And when I click that, it's going to show all the images that I've got in my account, including this one here, all the ones that we've kind of been creating. And in this case, I'm just going to choose my simple coffee cup one. And now what I can also do here is put in a link. So this could be any web page link that I have that are maybe set up for personalization. So if it is set up for personalization, then this page is also going to be personalized. So I'm going to submit that. As you can see here, now we've got the personalization in the image pulled through. We've got Tim, and I've also got his logo, Sticky Leads, pulled through. But also we can see that this image is clickable. And if I click that, that's actually going to take us through to a personalized page. In this case, you can see pulling through personalization for Tim, throughout the page, and all of the images all now being personalized to him in this case, and to Sticky Leads. So again, furthering that personalization outreach. And so using this Chrome extension, we're able to add one-to-one personalization in terms of triggering website personalization and image personalization. And we're able to use this in Gmail, in Outlook. We can also use it in LinkedIn. So for example, we can see here, we've got the short link button in the messaging, or if I go to a profile page, let's just close this down. What we should see here is also the short link button on the profile page. And when I click that, again, we're going to get the same experience where I can choose an image, like for example, the one we created. I can put in a title, which is going to appear underneath the image in case of how it's shared on LinkedIn. So we can control the title. So in this case, we can maybe say first name, this is perfect for company name. And again, I can choose a destination URL to somewhere where I'm going to send them to when they click it, again, for that personalized experience. When I complete those 3 bits of information, clicking submit, it's going to create that personalized short link that I can simply then just add into the message. And when I post that, we're going to get this personalized preview of from this link. So let's just give this a little second, and it should. There we go. So in this case, obviously, this is to Maria. Maria, would be great to chat. Maria, this is perfect for Winning by Design, which is obviously Maria's company, and you can see there we're pulling through her logo. And so simply with this personalized short link, and of course now with this link, we're going to get through to a personalized page. Again, you can see pulling through Maria's logo here into the academy, and we've got this page for her. So very simple to add one-to-ones, as you saw there in LinkedIn, in email with Gmail or Outlook, and also even in Facebook Messenger as well. So lots of different channels you can use our Chrome extension for to create that personalization as well. So really are flying through this now and getting close towards the end. Obviously, we talked about using this personalization in LinkedIn. All of these capabilities are all served through this one Chrome extension, which again is the link provided here. Also, what we can do is personalize our landing pages as well, as we saw in a couple of these examples. So, for example, in this one here, where we've got the first name of Tim and kind of also his business here, if I load the Chrome extension on this page, what you can actually see is we've got eight personalizations defined on the page. For example, here we can see first name and the business name, and then all of these images we've personalized as well. And now this Chrome extension is installed, when I select any element on the page, I'm able to add personalization. So, for example, here, when I set the text, I can add in personalization tags, and we can do this on any page at all. In fact, if anybody would like to suggest their website that we could load up as an example, we can show you how simple it would be to add personalization to your page. But we are very, very simple to do this. And obviously, as you saw, very simple to trigger once it's been added. But yeah, so that's kind of, in a nutshell, what we can do with Hyperize in terms of creating our images and then being able to create and personalize our existing websites and landing pages. The final part of the Hyperize product is around video personalization. But really, I think for today's purpose of today's event, I think that's something that we can save for another day. But obviously know that that's another layer of personalization that we can add to drive even further engagement beyond the email or LinkedIn outreach and website personalization. And so really that's kind of really draws to a conclusion that the kind of presentation part of today, and just leaves us open to open the floor to any questions you might have, anything else you'd like to kind of me to delve into or show or highlight. Be more than happy to do that now. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions come through yet. So I guess that's a great sign that that everything's being very, very clear so far. But what I would say is that obviously Hyperize, we have a completely free trial. You can get access to that just by visiting hyperize.com. From there, you'll be able to get access to the whole platform, to the image personalization, to the website personalization, as well as the video personalization, and with complete flexibility to kind of use that for the full 14 days. And of course, if you come in to support and mention that you attended this event, we're happy to add a couple of extra weeks into your trial so you can really get the benefit of what we've talked about today and using them in your campaigns. When you are in the product, in the platform itself, lots of ways to get support. You can chat to the team here directly, start a conversation, and we're pretty quick to respond there. We also have a knowledge base that has hundreds of articles. So again, if you're looking for some immediate answer, there'll probably be a knowledge base article that you can get very quick access to. Or if it's something that's a little bit more full on, let's say, then book a demo or book a meeting, should I say, and that will be a one-to-one member of our team, where you can really kind of drill down into the questions you have. Beyond all that, we have, of course, the Hyperize Academy, where we've got I think close to 100 videos now, covering all manner of kind of capabilities and strategies of Hyperize, from simple overview with about 20 onboarding videos, and then kind of drilling in deeper into different areas and different strategies. Again, all kind of video and text-based, but lots of support and education there as well. So certainly lots of ways for you to get support, and hopefully for us to make you success. Just see a couple of questions coming in. Let me just read those. Yeah, so Jacinda was asking about the cost post-trial. Great question. Thanks for that. Essentially, Hyperize comes in three flavors, if you like, or three plans, and that's the image plan, the plus websites plan, and the plus videos plan. The images plan, that essentially gives you the capability of creating personalized images, including GIFs. GIFs still come under images from our perspective. And so that, and use them in your outreach in LinkedIn, email, with any number of integrations, as well as the Chrome extensions, etc. The Plus Websites plan comes with all of the capabilities of images, but in addition to that, you can personalize your existing website. So no restriction on the number of pages at all on your website. Any number of pages, all of them, to one of them, whatever you prefer. And then the Plus Videos plan, again, includes all of the images and website capabilities, but also gives you the ability to create personalized videos. And again, these have kind of interactive buttons, call to actions that can be personalized, text to speech using AI. So again, it can be all personalized, saying your prospects' names in the videos, etc. And again, got access to all of that in the trial. All of these plans are completely flexible, so you can move around the plans. Maybe you just want to use videos just for a short campaign, and so you could jump over to that for a month and then jump back to whatever plan you wanted after that. And so again, complete flexibility. I hope that answered your question. Again, if you do have think of anything after that, you can always reach out to myself, the email you've got from me, or to our support team directly. Mark, thanks for your comment there. I appreciate that. It's always nice to hear. Appreciate that very much. Stephen, you too. Appreciate the thanks. And Godwin, yes, we have recorded this. At least I hope so. It looks like it's recording. And so I will be sharing that with you. Jacinda, appreciate that. Thanks. Thank you very much. Erica, appreciate the thanks too. I hope it's been useful for you. Again, we're here to help. We're here for your success. So please reach out when you need us. Again, appreciate your time today, everybody, and also the kind comments. I really hope that it's been useful, and I look forward to seeing you on the platform and hearing about your success in the very future. It does look like we've kind of run dry of questions now, so I'm going to give you your 10 minutes back and say thanks again for your time, and look forward to seeing you again very soon. You take care. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.